what I wanted to talk about today were hints for the beginning and intermediate harpists. It usually starts with the call, when you get a call to come and play somewhere. Now, for those of you that are seasoned pros and you've gone out and you've played a number of gigs, this will be review material. And what I'm trying to aim at are the people that are just starting out, that are just, saying, oh, well, I've been playing a few years now and I'm ready to play for somebody. And so what do? Questions. First thing to do is questions. First of all, a little bit of background. I've been playing harp now for about 25 years. I was an adult beginner. Had been playing pipe organ for years beyond that, and then had the opportunity to study harp and did, and just loved it so much they put me in front of an orchestra within a year, which was entirely too soon. So I mean, we're talking scramble like crazy, and to figure out how to make it work. And as my teacher said, well, as long as you don't fall off the bench, you can play fistfuls of wrong notes and no one will hardly be the wiser. Well, that's not exactly rules to live by. I mean, we try to get as many right notes as possible, but sometimes when things don't go so well, I take comfort in that. And my main teacher wound up being, if you've ever seen the musical Fantasia, the original Fantasia with Mickey Mouse, there's a big harp sequence with Mickey and the Harpist for the Philadelphia Orchestra. That was my teacher. Oh, wow. And I got her once. She had taught hundreds of students, and I was already, professional musician for 20 years and stuff. So she said, I don't need to teach you how to phrase, how to read music, how to do this. All you need is learn how to make the sound on the instrument. And so that's been a lot of my focus, is how do you get a beautiful sound? And what helps with that, when you go out, to always think, whatever you do, have a moment where the sound is simply gorgeous. People love this instrument. They love it because of the purity of the sound, and so you make the most beautiful sound that you can. And in that sense, if you had a curtain up here, you could hear all of us play. We all have a little different technique. Some teachers get real hung up on that, and that's okay. But it really, the method that you use for your body to make the sound isn't nearly as important as the sound. Let the sound be the result. What if you have to stand on your head and pluck backwards? I don't care. Just make it work. And so that's it. So the call comes in. We heard that you play the harp. Would you come and we'd like you to play a little program for us? Oh, this is wonderfully exciting if you've been studying for a bit. And on the other hand, you think, well, what are they asking me to do? Is this, you just go out and it's all solo harp music, and then you find out, well, there's a soloist. We want you to accompany her. And then there's going to be somebody to play the violin. And they don't tune on A440. You're expected to adjust. And then it can go on from there. And you get one nightmare after a nightmare after a nightmare. All of which, so here are some things to work out. First of all, find out where is the room you're playing in. What is the exact address? Where is the parking? If you pull into Memorial Drive Presbyterian, where we're going to be having one of our workshops and concerts, and you park on the wrong side of the building, you're going to walk a mile until you get to the right door. Am I wrong? I mean, you need to find out where is the closest parking. So I know I'm having to bring this thing in. It's like moving a refrigerator. Yeah. It's not like carrying a flute. I'm going to move a refrigerator. I don't want to walk a mile. Okay. So find out about the room, and then find about the lighting. Is this in someone's home, or is this in a wonderful place like this where you've got light and you can see? Oh, it makes such a difference to be able to see what you're doing. It makes all the difference in the world. What's the floor covering? Is it stone? Is it carpet? Is it oriental? Is it flat wood? What do you have? Because the first time that you go out and you play on an oriental rug, all of your strings disappear. And you have to say, where did C go? It was here at rehearsal. Where did it go? And because literally with the back coloring, you can't tell. Yeah. And so you want to find out, oh, it's a wood floor. Okay, well, is it light or dark or deep mahogany or light blonde? And that just helps to know. So you need to ask that. And if it is, whatever it is, if you bring a strong enough light to go on your stand so that you can A, see your music, and there's enough scatter light over here, you can compensate for that. So there is help available. And sometimes you may need to have a second stand and a second light coming at the strings from a different angle to be able to create a shadow that you can then work with. So don't be afraid to set up additional lighting for yourself. Have it in the car ready to go in case you need it. Always carry at least 2 stands. You may have someone give you your music in a folder that's nice and heavy and full of other things. And I've been playing sometimes and watched the stand very gradually get lower and lower. Have you all had this happen? Hello? You know, I see the heads nodding. Yeah, I'm not talking about things that never happen. Questions. What is the music? Well, we just want you to play your favorites. No problem. Big deal. Well, the choir's been working on Ceremony of Carols. Really? Hello. Ceremony of Carols, for those that haven't come across that charming, delightful piece, is only for harpists who practice 7 hours a day. Yes. On a pedal harp. If you try and do it on a lever harp, you're going to hurt yourself. Yes. Okay? With the exception being the very first movement only, which is nothing but A major. Strum A major, da 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 da, strum, and then you're all set. But that's the only part that you can do. First page and the last page. Okay? Outside of that, call your teacher. Are there recordings of whatever it is? Well, we're doing this little cantata that so-and-so wrote for us, and we'd like you to play. It has a little harp part. Well, anytime they say it has a little harp part, you can guarantee there's 45 glissandi, each with different pedaling, and it's going to go twice as fast as you think that it should. Yeah. So you have to be careful of this. So get a recording of whatever it is if you can. How many rehearsals would you like me to be at? Well, we're rehearsing the next 7 weeks. Would that fit your schedule on a Thursday night? And they want you at all of them. And so you say, how about 2? So you come back but always find out, what's involved. I'm not even talking about cost yet. Sometimes we do a lot of things for the joy and the pleasure. And when it gets a lot of pleasure, you get money for it. But when you're first just building your resume, you go for the experience, because let me tell you, experience is the best teacher. Okay, part 2. You arrive at the first rehearsal. Okay, well, you have to allow time for, and these are not in any particular order. Let's go in reverse. Is there help available to get my harp in the building? Because you get there and there are 17 stairs straight up. And all of a sudden, what's a very simple little move-in becomes a marathon. Okay, are there steps? Is there, to getting it into the building, do I have to walk a mile? Or is it right outside? Will that door be unlocked? If not, how do I brace it so it doesn't lock behind me? I mean, these are the things you run into when you get out there, especially if you're running 3 minutes late. The door locked. And the door's locked. Or you go out to get your harp and the door is locked. And then you have to go all the way around the building, come back. Okay. And then tuning. I don't know about you all, but I don't always have the harp in perfect tune when it arrives, because the car juggles it a little bit, and it's always good to allow a little bit of time for it to sit in, especially if the rest of the choirs are all talking loud at the top of their range, and everyone's practicing their bit, and you're sitting there saying, well, I can't even hear myself play, much less tune. And you can't exactly say, will you all be quiet for 10 minutes while I tune? They won't do it. So back yourself up. If you have to get there a half an hour early and have quiet, do that. Or go out in the hall and tune it out there. Go anywhere you need to go. Have your little roller so you can go yourself and find a little quiet space just to make sure your instrument is going to work. Because it's not like a piano. They get it professionally tuned. They'll hold its tuning pretty well. The harp will change if the weather changes. I mean, you go and you start one weather when you, like today, when I left home, it was sun shining and, the clouds peeking through, a little bit of sun, but then all of a sudden, hello, here we are. The bottom half was sharp, the top was flat, who knows what it's going to do. So allow time, all of that, before you play a note. This will settle yourself. You won't, hello, you won't be nervous. Rewriting. Okay, once you get the part, sometimes, like this number 1 here, now I will tell you, I played with the harp for the 4-bend symphony. Every single bit, one of my examples today comes out of the stuff we're working on right now. So don't think that, well, these are the weird things. You never run into that when you're actually playing. Ha. This is stuff I just used as illustrations right now. This is the harp part in the middle of a little piece. And you look at that and you say, my, that's a lot of notes. Is it, how does that go? Let's see. The only problem is that would sort of be almost negotiable, although it's a wide hand span, but it goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. Guess what doesn't work well on the harp? Guess what composer was a pianist? Yeah. So this is the harp part. Okay, so what do you do with that? Well, you take a look. All you're really playing at the first chord is A flat, and at letter B, or H I think it is, you're playing D flat, which is the 1 chord. This is why you must study harmony and theory with your teacher, or with someone, so that you can then realize, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measures or so is nothing but D flat. Well, I couldn't do that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then you have to figure out, well, how loud do I have to play this? Is this soft so that you can be heard easily? Well, no. So I'm now still figuring out exactly what works best with the orchestra. There's almost time to crack the chord. Trying to get one hand to go one way and the other hand to go the other way. Kind of thing. And I'm not trying to embrace the whole 2 octaves and a half of the instrument. Let's just get it into what fits under the fingers. Vroom, 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 vroom. And you can get this motion going rather easily. And you've just saved yourself about 25 hours of practice. So you can either, if you have plenty of time, and you can manage all the notes, God bless you. Go for it. Play what's written. But if you don't have an extra 25 hours to practice, figure out what is it really asking for. And then if it changes chords for one brief beat, mark it 5 to 1. So that you don't get, well, I'll just play this forever. Well, the next thing you know, you played through the chord change and you haven't listened and you haven't exactly counted. It also helps to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would write this in on the music so that you know that you do that same thing 18 times or however many times it is, and then it changes. And so that way you can catch yourself. All right, part B. This is a section in the middle of America the Beautiful. And it's a lovely arrangement, no big deal up there. You notice there's an A natural, there's an E flat, there's a C natural, A flat, D flat. So your feet are moving a good bit. Well, then all of a sudden you have this whole measure that I've outlined over here, second system. Okay, that measure is absolutely horrible because you've got to be very sure at the third system down. That's important. That is your moment. Everything else ahead of that just not needing. Everybody else is playing those notes. The oboe has da, 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 the note that you've been catching with your little finger, bringing it all the way down. It's the tune. But if you find that that's the one spot where you just need a moment to check your pedals before the next whole section, and because of so many pedal changes ahead of that, or however many levers you have to fit, you need a moment to just make sure at this very exposed spot coming up that your pedals are right.
Yes.
So give yourself a measure. Sometimes you may need 2. And then here at the very bottom, in that middle measure, the last quarter note, you have to hit, I think it's 4 pedal changes there all of a sudden. You've done your gliss, and then you have... What do you know on the piano? That's really not that hard. But you have to hit like 6 changes and then reverse them all. Well, guess what it sounds like even better? And so you just leave one note out. They won't miss it. And you have just erased tons of gray hairs. Mind you, I learned to do this after my hair already turned gray, so it didn't help on that end, but I can perhaps help 1 or 2 of you. So that's that. Now, here, number C, it's the same thing. This is the Battle Hymn of the Republic. There isn't a harp part for that. There's supposed to be, because at the end of that, they're in beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. And you play this beautiful little B flat major chord and then a C and whatever the other one is. There is a part in the original orchestration of it, but we don't have a copy of it. This is the best I could get. Well, this is not just one system, it's 4 systems going at once. One indicating the woodwinds up at the top and the brass. The other is the lower instruments, which are doing ba 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 ba. Well, the thing of it is, if you know your harmony, and this is where, again, your theory stuff comes in handy. You're on this chord, B flat, middle system, rehearsal 12. Instead of... You know what works really well on the harp? This. At this point, if there's a chorus, they're coming in, it's everything but the kitchen sink. And all you have to do is 5 chords. And you'll be heard. And they'll think, oh, isn't that wonderful? The Harpist plays.
Yes.
Hello.
At last.
And you can actually hear. So reduce it down, and if you can actually get away with one big strum, one beautiful tone, every measure. And it works perfectly well. So don't worry about such things as, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, you simplify. Simplify it down to something, especially when you're having to make up your own part. Do so. Now, if you're able to get on there and get aside, just, well, I'm really feeling good today. It's a little churny exercise, as it were. Go for it. Do it. That's fine. And if you want to reduce the whole thing down to glissandi, do that. It doesn't matter. The point is, this is a very festive moment, and you are there to create festivity. So just come up with something that works.
Is there a piano playing at the same time?
Yes. And you're trying to play louder than a piano? Hello. You soon learn that those da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's done by the tuba as well. And the trombone, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, and the double bass and all the cellos. So anytime that you're trying to make sound down at the bottom, and you've got that much sound coming out of the orchestra, it's a complete waste of time.
Yes.
The only thing that will be hurt is your little fingers, because you can't compete with that. And so come back with something that you can contribute. And that way it will make it much, much more effective. And I was playing over loud for that just to demonstrate how much sound you can actually push out at a moment. And if you're in the midst of a huge orchestra, it really doesn't. The beauty of the sound, you save it for the moments when you can really be heard with muted strings and things like that. So that's important on that. Now, and letter C, number C, we've covered that. In general, pedal markings, very important. The D, rehearsal D, is one that at initial glance looks, oh my God. Now imagine it without the notation. So what's the right hand and what's the left hand? When I first looked at that, I said, oh, here we have another little thing. Morton Gould, pretty good pianist. And, you know, all this is well, guess what? It's all F major. Well, guess what you can do? Right hand, left hand, right hand. It's a little faster than that. It actually plays in the key of, it pulses in 2. And so all you really have to do then is keep your left hand right there and move your right. You can be loud, you can be soft. All you have to do is spot your right hand in 2 different spots. So what initially sometimes may look horrible, actually, the more you live with it, can work out. And if you're really not still confident at moving your hand that many times, and you have to count them so you don't have to exactly try to follow the music every single time, you just sort of say, well, that's the 3rd time, that's the 4th time, that's the 5th time, here's the change, and then here's the 6th, 7, 8. Do that, and you'll have it. If you need to just simply keep it under 2 hands, it's just F. As long as this is the little bit in the revival songs where they're playing Little David Play on Your Harp. F is F, whether it's going or wherever, it really doesn't matter. So there are times when the right notes really do matter, and I'm not saying don't try not to play them. I'm saying get them every time you can. But if you run into tricky bits, it's not worth coming completely apart and sitting there and shaking and then bursting into tears afterwards. It's not worth that. Be kind to yourself. Be nice. Now, the final bit, pedal markings, lever changes, rehearsals, sections, things like that. The last page here is what a typical page can look like. First of all, if you have pedal diagrams, you have to put those in. They're not going to be on the harp part unless the harpist has put them in. And even then, harpists don't always agree on when you need to change your pedal. There's some school that says change it immediately as soon as you can and have a moment that's free and change your next pedal even though it doesn't change for 3 more pages. There's other people that say, let's change that pedal only right there when you first need it. And 3 pages later. Whatever school you're in, what you're going to be asked to do at some point is like back on that previous piece. Letter C, we're going to jump to letter C, please. Ready, 2, and go. And if you haven't put down what your pedaling is, and your last pedal, you've got 16 pedal changes since letter B, and you really don't, you're not sure of what your pedalings were at B, you've got to go back all the way to the beginning, make every pedal change to see what's coming up at C. Where are the pedals at C? And by the time you're playing, whether it's for choir, for church, for anything, believe me, every rehearsal letter, every place you think they're going to start or go back and redo, put a pedal diagram. It'll save you hours in rehearsal. This is what you do ahead of time to make things easier on yourself. Makes such a difference. And I've been so glad that I could do that when I've had a chance to do it. And then I even go so far as to, I use colorings for the right foot is one color and the left foot is another. Because when it gets going and you're trying to really concentrate, if that helps you, do it. Anything you can do on the page to prepare, to ensure that you do your best is totally okay. And if that means just simplify that little part a little bit and bring out the most beautiful things you can where that is, do it. That's what it's all about. And that's what makes playing fun. Because you get up at the end and you say, I was prepared for that rehearsal. That's the first time we all went through that. And guess what? He didn't have to stop for me. And that's a good feeling because, oh, trombones, you're playing the wrong note. Well, guess what? You won't have a string wrong. There's one we had just last week. It's E flat. The whole business of E flat. The pianist is coming in and not seeing the flat sign, and so they're playing E natural. Well, that could just have easily been my pedal. Okay? But when the conductor says, it's E flat, he wasn't talking about me. So that's fun. So anyway, above all else, trust your teacher. If he or she says, well, I've been asked to play such and such, don't accept anything until you talk to your teacher. And if they say, well, I know that work, and I think you better wait a year. Trust them. They know what they're talking about. On the other hand, if they said, that's very doable, you should do that, that would be fine. Mrs. Tyre got me into major trouble that one time. She said, I got asked to play the Harp part in Traviata, which is only in the first act, and it's only in one piece, and it's only really D major. You know, pa 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 da tia da da tia da 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 da. She said that is a wonderful beginning piece to learn the harp when you're going out and playing with people. She said, now be careful. You'll get, because when it comes back again, it's twice as fast. Bum, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum. It's twice as fast. So be sure that all of a sudden when you start it the first time, you take it at the slow tempo. She first played at the Metropolitan Opera backstage. She was so excited to play there. It just was wonderful. She said, I started it the first time, twice as fast. It happens. She was also harpist with Philadelphia Orchestra. And she said, you know, things can happen. The other thing that happened to me when I was out in rehearsal, playing backstage, we had to follow a monitor, and this is that. So we've got a wonderful little TV spot of the conductor doing this. And then he decided that he wanted it to be softer, so he did this. And changed the tempo. And then fussed because I wasn't following him. I said, move your damn hand. You know, hello, I don't read minds here. So believe me, if it can happen to you, it will. And that's part of the joy of playing in public. The other thing, the caveat to that is with brides. I haven't talked about brides, but I'm going to have to close on this one little final thing. I had the call. Do you play Pachelbel canon on the harp? Yes, I do. Yes, it's D major. Well, I'm getting married at such and such and such and such a church. Can you play? I said, yes, I can. So we got everything all negotiated, played the prelude and got through all of that. And I looked up, and it was to be for the seating of the mothers. I thought, well, that's lovely, nice, perfectly appropriate. So I looked up when it was time to do that, and unbeknownst to me, the mothers had come in on the preceding piece and were already seated. And so I looked at the organist and I said, seating of the family? And he said, oh, procession. I said, okay, well, so we switched to the procession because what's the point of playing this piece? Prelude was over, the family was in, we were ready to go. So we did that. It was brilliant. Trumpet voluntary with organ and Sandi and all this. It was fabulous. So I thought, well, you know, that all worked out very well. Week and a half later, ring, hello. I just want you to know that you ruined my wedding. I said, who is this? What are we talking about? You played harp for my wedding a week ago. I said, well, yes, I did. And wasn't it a lovely day? I asked you specifically if you could play Canada D. I said, yes, and we would have, but your mothers got seated at the wrong piece. And the organist said to start the procession. But I was in the back of the church telling my bridesmaids this was my most wonderful, favorite piece of music in the entire world. That's why I asked you specifically to play it. And she went on. So, you know, I started to choke up a little bit for a moment. And then I said, what do you want me to do? I'll gladly record it so you'll have the, you know, an audio taping of it with Harp. I'd be happy to do that for you. No, I just want you to know that you ruined my wedding. I said, well, have a good day and please don't recommend me to any of your friends. Anyway, you never know what happens when you meet the public, but be prepared.
Fred, I want to make one comment that might help you. If you can't see all the markings that are on here, I go to the company shop, which is a good idea anyway, and put it 125% is so much better. And then you can mark it all up with colored markings, whatever, because sometimes the music is rented and they won't let you put any markings on it. So by all means, copy whatever they give you and then mark it all up to whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. But enlarge it, because if it's way off here in your stand, your eyes have to be mighty good to see it with doubtful light. And that's, I didn't discover that.